What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions podcast. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @A_Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. And also visit the Facebook page to get all updates for any episodes that you might have missed. If you're listening, thank you as always for listening. You're listening either over Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, and all that's awesome. And again, as I always say, since I'm on all that stuff, there's no excuse not to get the word out, so please continue to spread it. With me today is a buddy that I go back, if you ever kept up with the blog, then you would have seen him a few times, because back when I was doing my picks, he wanted to chime in, because he knows spreads decently, he likes football, he's a Jets fan, tortured soul like me. But you saw Skip's picks. He was throwing me some picks on some numbers and spreads, and he was throwing them in there. And I can't remember how good or bad they were, since he's pretty much ass at everything he does. They probably suck. You can ask friggin' John. John will tell you he's ass, right, Skip?
Well, hey, I'm still doing nothing with my life involving sports, so they suck pretty bad. But yeah, that Skip's picks, I was trying to gamble, I was trying to put a little money. It hasn't been working out. I still got my regular job. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, AllenRob5, ALLENROB5. Both are the same. Find me, follow me. I'm all about having fun, guys.
Absolutely, and if you didn't get it, this is Alan Skip Robinson, and I'll be referring to him as Skip from now on because it's just a nickname. I think he was you were the fake manager of the Manchester Men, basically, and it stuck from that. You just became Skip forever.
The Manchester Men. I was Skip. I was the skipper. I was the designated hitter because I hated catching. I was also the number 3 batter, even though I didn't deserve to bat 3 anymore.
Hey, you had some really good games.
Yeah, I had 1 out of 3 good games, and the other 2 I kind of took off because I was either drunk or too old. But, we'll go with that. And we are the defending Jersey Shore Junior USABL champions, and then we kind of retired. We packed it in.
And fun fact, before I got my first ankle surgery, I was on the Manchester Men for a grand total 1 game. Now, mind you, I'm a guy that never played baseball. I think I played Little League once in middle school. And after that, I stopped playing, so I decided to go and I paid my money, got my t-shirt, I still have it, it says Questicle on the back, number 30, and I'm pretty sure I got a walk, and then I got picked off because these jerk-offs were trying to coach me from the side, and I look over, and then all of a sudden the kid throws me out, and it wasn't my fault at all. I take no blame for that still.
I do remember that, and I want to thank you for actually repaying me and letting me be on the show finally. Because that's my repayment for letting you be on our team that year. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Fans, I hope you have a good time.
I missed this. We
had him in the game only to run, and he gets picked off. And that's all I remember.
And I missed the simple pop fly, but I did make contact and foul a ball off on a fastball. And that was a highlight of my at-bat.
Yes, he did. And he walked. I believe he walked.
Oh, I drew a walk. My only strike was that foul ball, and then he walked me. He was scared of me.
Yeah, I would not go that far, but let's just say that we were all pretty okay with him hurting his ankle after the game.
Now, speaking of things that are scary, it's always scary when one of the teams, Skip, that we like has a lot of hype surrounding them. And right now, the Jets have a whole lot of hype surrounding them with Sam Darnold, with the defense, with even having Teddy Bridgewater and Josh McCown coming back. It makes me nervous, Skip. I'm not going to lie. Everything about it makes me nervous. How do you feel about the situation in general, specifically Sam Darnold? He just got praise from Washington Redskins cornerback, All-Pro Josh Norman. How do you feel? I'm going to ask you first. What's your feelings on Sam Darnold?
Okay. I want to take this back to last year, just because we're doing the Jets thing, if you don't mind, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, I don't know if anyone remembers, anyone knows me, I was the only one, maybe, in the entire world that had faith in the Jets. I predicted the 3-2 start. I said the exact games they would win. They'd beat Jags, they'd beat Browns, they'd beat Dolphins. They'd lose, I forget who they lost to, but Oakland and someone else, but that's besides the point. And then we had a chance to win 3-4 straight games, and we didn't get it done. So that was last year. It was with McCown. Sam Darnold, that was the question. So let's get to that. I do think I really think that Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the future, 100%. From what I've seen from him, absolutely. Do I think he should start game one this year? Absolutely not. I think it's proven in the league, 90% of the quarterbacks that sit and watch a veteran play for a year, half a year, maybe even 2 years, are better than rookies that just step right in. Something always seems to go wrong, even when you have a guy like Andrew Luck, who stepped right in. He was great, but he's been hurt. Same year, you had RG3, stepped right in. He was great 1 year, and then he just could never find it. Then you look at someone by the name, you ever heard of this guy, Aaron Rodgers? I don't think he played his first 3 years. He sat behind Brett Favre.
And he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now, talent-wise.
Best quarterback in the NFL that we might have ever seen. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I going to call Josh McCown Brett Favre. But what I'm going to call Josh McCown is a winner. The guy goes balls to the wall, 100% every game, and when he's in the game, you know you have a chance to win.
And I got to say something about McCown, because people forget, injuries have plagued Josh McCown. That's been pretty much his big thing, but his highlight before last year with the Jets was on the Cleveland Browns, and I believe he had them at like 4-2, something. He had them going really, really well, and and then he got hurt, but he was having.
I think the Jets talked about actually, with the concussion.
And he was having a great season. So McCown is a capable quarterback, and he has the history of injuries. But another guy I want to bring up, two guys, because I want to add to your point, because I completely agree with you, Skip. I don't think he's a pretty, he's an unknown guy. But this guy named Tom Brady, pretty sure he sat behind a guy a guy who had just taken the team to the Super Bowl, and the Jets are responsible for Tom Brady.
Yeah, one of the worst days of my life was the day that I think it was Mo Lewis knocked out Drew Bledsoe.
We all remember that, and it was one of the best moments and worst moments. Brady. One of the best and worst moments.
How good this guy was going to be. I mean, it was a great moment at the time.
Yeah.
By Drew, and steps freak of nature Tom Brady. You never know.
And I want to bring up one other kid who looks like he might take the league by storm, because last year he made a garbage team into relevant. But Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't start unless it was or didn't play unless it was garbage time or Tom Brady was injured. And then he goes over, and let's remember, Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback that sat. He sat, he watched, he learned, and now he's over there in San Francisco poised to make them compete for a playoff spot. There's something to be said.
I don't think he's lost as a starter yet, has he?
I think he has one loss. It was I don't know if it counts against him, because I think he came into the game. So I don't know if that counts.
Okay, yeah. So I don't think he has a loss as a starter. And you know what? Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy I like. He doesn't try to do too much. He makes the plays. He's got a big arm. But I don't like, the one thing I don't like, he's putting a target on his back, because he is getting a little cocky over there. But if you back that up, there's nothing wrong with that.
I think Richard Sherman being around him might be pushing him to that, because I think Richard Sherman's his attitude and his poise and his cockiness is kind of contagious. Because when you have a guy like that, that's just so confident in his abilities and probably your abilities as a teammate, and he's hyping you up, he probably makes you feel like $1 million. I could see a guy like that.
When you know a guy like Richard Sherman's got your back, I don't care how many surgeries, how many injuries he's had. The guy's still a stud. His reputation precedes him, just like my boy Darrell Rivas did in his last couple of years, even though he wasn't near the caliber player. He's match respected, and I hope we see him play some good football this year after the bad Achilles injury last year. I really do, because
I agree.
always liked him. He takes time every week to a nice football live with the kids, for the kids and stuff, and you gotta like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not afraid to voice his opinion or anything like that. So I hope Sherman has a good year, but that's all I got to say about him. It is Jet football time.
So, yeah, back to the thing at hand. Darnold, I agree with you. We shouldn't start week one. Now, I have another question for you. This still encompasses the quarterback thing. Now, one of the big narratives that have been going around is the Jets need to start Teddy Bridgewater because they need to get him out there because they need to trade him. My question is, why the hell do we need to trade him? Why are Jets fans afraid of greatness? If this guy comes out, he's 25 years old, he was poised to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league after his rookie year was a solid one. He got injured for the year, 2 years, obviously. But if he comes out, we have 3 winnable games out the gate. If he wins all 3 of these and possibly gets a 4th win and looks like at 25, he could be the next quarterback for our next 10 years, why the hell are Jets fans scared of greatness, it looks like. Because you know what? Here's the thing. I like Sam Darnold, but I never have to see Sam Darnold play a goddamn down if Teddy Bridgewater starts doing the job. I hate that narrative.
Now, here's my answer to you right away, my first instinct. There is no right answer for who the hell should start at quarterback right now for the New York Jets. You could give me 25 reasons why Josh McCown would start. I would agree with all of them. You could give me 25 reasons why Bridgewater should start. I'd probably agree with all of them. You can give me 35 reasons why Darnold should start. And you know what? Nobody knows who's right until you play the game. You have to play the game. Now, something outside the box that will never happen, but I'm always thinking, I like something new. Every other sport has a reliever.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater, throughout his career, has been a guy that's not going to do a ton of big plays, but he has never turned the ball over. Why not start McCown or Darnold, whoever you decide, and if you have a lead, bring Bridgewater in relief in the fourth quarter.
So you want to laugh? If you want to laugh, this is something that both my dad and even my wife Julia brought up. My dad, when Vinny Testaverde was around, my dad would always say, Testaverde's good for 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter, he's going to figure out a way to give away the game. And he was right. Yeah. There's a reason why Testaverde, I think, has the record for the most interceptions of all time.
He's in like the top 5 in touchdowns and the leader in interceptions or something.
Exactly.
He was a great playmaker.
He was a gunslinger. He doesn't
care with the scores, and he forces it, which is great. You always feel like you have a chance to win.
But my wife said that. My wife said that about Romo too, because my wife is a Cowboys fan, and she always said, why can't we just have a fourth quarter quarterback? He's great for 3 quarters. Now, everything contradicts it because Romo, during his time in the league, no one led more fourth quarter comebacks or wins within 2 minutes than Tony Romo, but I digress. But there's something to be said about possibly a reliever. Now, the reason why the Jets can't do that.
Not wait, but before you move on, I know for everyone that's listening, I know there's some weird rule with like first, second, and third string quarterback. So I don't know the exact rule. I know there's something where you can't come back into the game, all that stuff, before we get too carried away about this reliever thing. But if you care, just take a look at it and tell me I'm wrong and all that good stuff. I'm good with that. But I just want to make that known that I do know there's some kind of weird rule with that. So, okay, continue.
There is, but the one thing I got to say is the Jets can't be the first team to do that because we already have such a stigma of being a laughingstock and being a circus that especially we need to have a coach with some balls, and I don't think Todd Bowles is that coach because Todd Bowles is showing. I know you have some distaste for Todd Bowles. I know a lot of Jets fans have distaste for Todd Bowles. I don't have a problem with the guy. I think he's done a pretty good job with very minimal talent. But I think if he tries to pull something like that, he'll be fired. The Jets will be a laughingstock. Like, Miami could do something like that because Miami's under the radar. Miami could do the Wildcat, change the game, and okay, it's something cool out of Miami. But if the Jets do that, we're just the Giants' redheaded stepsister. We're just the other team in East Rutherford. And all that narrative will come out again. So I don't think the Jets can be the team that does that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I want to thank you for bringing up Todd Bowles. Now, every time that we mention Todd Bowles, I always talk like that because my name is Todd Bowles, and this is how I talk to motivate my football team. Now, Alex, do you think that you're going to get motivated by hearing this every game? Todd Bowles, in my opinion, it might be the worst coach I've ever seen in my life. Forgive me for all this, but everyone's talking about lack of talent from last year. Everyone's talking about no talent. Well, in my eyes, that's disrespect from the upper management giving him nobody because they want him out. We finished 5-11 last year, and they're talking about Todd Bowles for Coach of the Year? Is this Pop Warner? Are we playing just to keep it close? 5-11, Coach of the Year. That's bullshit. We blew 4 fourth quarter leads in a row. That doesn't come from lack of talent. That comes from lack of coaching. Terrible play management, terrible play calling, and terrible killer instinct. Todd Bowles has no killer instinct. And that's why I don't want Todd Bowles as my head football coach. And I would take another losing season to get him out of here before I would take a 9-7 season just to keep him around.
Now, I got a few points in defense of Todd Bowles, but I see where you're coming from. First off, what we see from Todd Bowles in the media, I don't think is the coach that he is. He played in the league. He was a defensive player in the league. He was a corner. I don't think that he just sits there and We just got to take care of the ball more, team. We just
I agree. I have to do this.
We can't. No, I think he's fire and brimstone behind closed doors. I think he does have that side of him, because if you look at Bill Belichick is the most boring dude on the planet when he's giving his press conferences, but I can guarantee that behind closed doors, he's not afraid to rip someone's ass apart. So I can't judge him by what we see.
Real quick, because I don't think you can't compare them to.
Well, personality-wise, you can.
He just looks at me and I'm scared.
Personality-wise, you can. But when it comes to the management, I will give you that. This is a make-or-break year in terms of game management for Bulls. His first 2 years, he kind of had the pass because he was a rookie and he was learning and blah, 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 blah. Now this is make or break. You can't have the stupid clock things. You can't have the dumb plays that you call. I'm not going to knock him for anything in the preseason because you're not playing to win. This doesn't matter. But I can't, this is a make or break year for me in terms of that. Now, in terms of wins and losses, if we're playing Bridgewater and McCown, then he probably needs to win at least 8 games, 7-8 games. If we're playing Darnold, I don't think the wins matter. I don't think he'll get fired. If Darnold's a starter in week 1, we can win 2 games, and it's not going to matter because it's a learning year. And also, we have to address how bad this offensive line has looked the first 2 weeks of preseason. It's been atrocious. It doesn't matter who is playing quarterback. They're going to get the shit hit out of them. That's not good.
Okay, I'm going to go back to one of your points that you're not going to take too much into this because it's preseason. Not going to lie, I'm not a big offensive line knowledge guy, but I do know that the last few years the offensive line has been suspect, but it has held up just enough. So just off recent memory, I don't remember McCown getting killed.
McCown also got rid of the ball quickly. He was very good at getting rid of the ball. The West Coast offense worked very well last year, and Jeremy Bates might continue that. I have seen a lot of mix-up. They want to be a run-first team, but McCown was very good at getting rid of the ball quick.
Yeah, even his defaults, he got it out real quick. It was 1, 2, 3, and throw it up for Anderson or Curse.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, you lose Nick Mangold. I don't remember offhand if that was beginning of last year. That's a tough guy to replace.
It was 2 years, but
I'm still looking to replace my jersey that I've worn for years, Nick Mangold.
Well, Spencer Long came over from the Redskins, and Spencer Long has been doing the job. He's a good veteran. Now, they are without Kevin Beachum, their left side tackle, so I'll give him that. And Winters just got hurt, so there's already some bang-ups on the offensive line for guys that can be impact guys, and it's kind of scary already. It really is.
Okay. Like I said, I'm not 100% with the line, so I'm not going to argue too much about this. The only thing I'm going to say about that is we'll see next week, week 3, when the starters play 3 quarters. We'll see how many yards they get on the ground, how many times the quarterback gets hit, rush, sack, and then we'll be able to judge more if that's a problem, because it's really tough to judge with 2 preseason games, especially the first week, the A team only getting one possession about, and then week 2, you're still playing a quarter because and they still don't know who's playing quarterback. I would also argue that you have to protect 3 different ways. McCown can run a little bit, but he's more of a pocket passer. Bridgewater can run a ton, but he's still in the pocket, and you're kind of learning what Darnold is.
Darnold can run. He's a mobile dude.
Yeah, so they're all a little mobile, but they all have their little things they do differently. So,
yes.
So in my eyes, until they find out who that quarterback is, it's kind of tough for them to maybe get on the same page and see what they really are.
Now, I'm predicting in week 3 of the preseason, it's usually your dress rehearsal. I think in typical Bulls fashion, what we're going to get is McCown is going to start the game for 2 series, and then he's going to split it evenly between Darnold and Bridgewater, because I don't think Bulls wants to tip his card of who's starting yet.
Yeah, and I heard something that, and this is another quote from Bulls that I completely disagree with. He said, you're going to find out when we're going to the field who the starting quarterback is. What are you trying to prove, Todd? Like, I'm not sure. Like just tell everyone, especially me for my fantasy season. No, I'm just kidding. Who your starting quarterback is, though. I mean, it's not going to change the way teams prepare for you. They're going to prepare the same way, in my eyes. And they'll be licking their chops at the Darnold coming out of the locker room starting the game.
Now, what scares me about this, Skip, is if he still hasn't named Bridgewater or Darnold yet, that just tells me that neither of them have outplayed McCown yet. That's all that tells me. Because if they grossly outplayed McCown, then he would have named one of them. That just tells me that he hasn't seen anything from either of them that tells him that they're a better chance to win than McCown.
And I would agree, I mean, as much as that bad mouth Todd Bowles, he's not a stupid man.
No.
He knows that if he doesn't win this year, he could very well lose it. He could be done.
Anyone but Darnold. If Darnold plays, he can lose.
Back to the point that you made, I'm coming back to that.
Alrighty.
He's okay if he loses with Darnold. I think that's true. However, we have no idea. This is the same upper management that set him up for failure last year. So do they want him out of there? And then a new guy in for Darnold? We don't know.
Now, I don't know if they set him up.
It's his last leg, so he starts McCown.
I don't know if they set him up for failure as much as they were trying to address other needs. I think they did. They knew they weren't going to be able to get the quarterback of the future last year. So they went with McCown. And I think they tried to shore up what they had on defense, and McCagnon was more focused on getting out some of the bad eggs, like Sheldon Richardson before that, Muhammad Wilkerson last year. And what he did on defense with bringing in Mo Claiborne, bringing in Buster Screen the year before, getting Jamal Adams, getting Marcus May in the draft, and then bringing in Williams this year, I think he's kind of focusing on getting his defense primed. And now he's kind of switching focus to the offense now, getting Darnold, loading up on running backs, and the wide receiving core, which everyone says is weak. But I heard a stat that I'm going to bring up. The Jets are the only team in the league to have 4 wide receivers that have had over 800 yards in a season at one point. And those guys are Robbie Anderson, who did it last year, Jermaine Kearse, who did it last year, Quincy Enunwa 2 years ago, and Terrell Pryor 2 years ago. So everyone says that this core is weak. I don't think this core is weak at all.
Okay, I'll talk about that a little bit. I'll go down the line one by one with that.
Okay.
You got Robbie Anderson. Is he suspended? Is he not suspended? What's going on with him? Do you know that?
I think he might have a 1 or 2 game suspension.
Okay, so that's besides the point. But I love Robbie Anderson. He's improved his route running. I remember 2 years ago he couldn't catch. Last year he suddenly could catch. He's a big play guy.
Yep.
He's got all 3 things that you want from a receiver. He can get open. He has speed. He's probably a solid number 2 in the league. Jermaine Kearse, he reminds me now. I might be going overboard a little bit, but he reminds me a little bit of Wayne for Batman.
That's scary.
Yeah, I'm going overboard, but just let me go. Anytime there seems to be a 3rd and 12, a 3rd and 8, a big play you need, you're going to Kearse because you know he's not going to commit an offensive foul, an offensive penalty, and you know he's going to make a big catch.
Now,
so I do like.
Isn't that Enunwa's role that he had 2 years ago? And don't you think he's going to retake it? Because I think Enunwa's a better player than Kearse.
I would agree with you. I would also say that Enunwa, his injury, that was a serious thing. That was an injury to his neck, right?
Yes.
You don't. I know that we're in 2018. The doctors are better than ever. The technology is great, but
you're not allowed to
get from him.
They're not allowed to hit him anymore. You can't hit in the NFL anymore.
That's valid, yeah. But I mean, you don't really know what you're going to get from him. So he's my wild card. He could be anywhere from a number 1 threat to he could find his way. Unfortunately, this is the NFL. He could find his way to getting cut.
He could
because the 4th guy right there. And now, Terrell Pryor, you forgot senior. Terrell Pryor senior.
No, I'm tired of that. Hold on. I'm going to give something up with that. I'm tired of that shit.
Me too.
If there is nobody in the league before you or after you, you do not have that. Nobody cares.
Okay. Well, the only reason I like that is because I was a huge Steve Smith fan, and he was the first person to do it, Steve Smith Sr.
But Steve Smith has some clout behind his name before he did it. He was Steve Smith for 6 years before he did it. 7 years.
I agree. All right, so back to the point. Terrell Pryor, 2 years ago was his big year. Is that correct?
Yep, with the Cleveland Browns, over 1,000 yards and I think like 7 touchdowns.
Who do you think his quarterback was?
Josh McCown.
That's why. Let me close out this part. Josh McCown starts week 1. The Jets go 10-6 and they get into the wild card playoffs. Josh McCown to Terrell Pryor, right there. You heard it here first. Skip Robinson, 10-6 playoff.
Now, all right, so. What does that do for Teddy Bridgewater? Because then that's a waste of money. Even though it's only a $500,000 hold, you only have to pay him, I don't know how much it is. You won't get anything for him. If your plan is to trade him, not playing him, you maybe get a 7th round or a compensatory pick. That seems to be a waste.
I mean, you see it year after year. Someone gets hurt. You could think anyone. Let's say, I mean, I'm just going by hypotheticals. Matt Stafford gets hurt. Where do you think their first call is going to go?
It is, but what are they going to give to the Jets if they haven't seen any real film besides preseason? You need some real games.
I'll tell you what. They're going to give, if they're in the playoff fund, if it's week 3 and they're 3-0, you're going to get a lot more than you think.
They better not be 3-0. That means they beat the Jets. If they're 3-0, that means the Lions beat the Jets.
2-1.
Okay.
2-1. But here you listen. Nobody saw much from Garoppolo except a couple of garbage games when they're up 52-0, and a game where Brady was hurt.
But Garoppolo didn't have a terrible injury that he needed to recover from.
Yeah, but you see enough in preseason to know he can move. I watched a little of that game last night. The man can move.
Oh, I watched it last night, and I think that he should be the starter off of what I've seen. The ball has zip. His mobility's fine. His vision's down the field is fantastic. I think Bridgewater should be the starter regardless.
He looked good, but, I mean, man, you're not taking the ball away from my boy Josh McCown. The way that he, again, lack of talent team, the way that he gave them a shot every game, you're never going to... He made me believe. I was calling out sick on Sundays at work just to watch the game when I had to schedule myself to work.
Go ahead.
Man, no, he made me, the way he made me believe the fire, you can't teach that. And you can't teach that in a skill. So until Teddy Bridgewater gets that smile off his face and looks like he wants to compete instead of having fun, I want Josh McCown as my quarterback.
Personally, I want Josh McCown to be the quarterback's coach. I want Bridgewater to win it. I want Bridgewater to start. I want Darnold to be the backup. And I want McCown to take the pads off finally and become a Jets coach. That's what I want. I think that's a perfect scenario for me. I would love for him to be a coach.
I want him to do that next year.
Next year?
I think it's only a matter. I mean, we're just going by statistics now again. But, I mean, based on the past, it's only a matter of time before McCown goes down with some kind of injury, whether it's a knee or a concussion or another freak injury like last year. And then the Jets are 7-1 in week 9, and Bridgewater wins us the Super Bowl coming in. And then McCown retires with a ring, and he coaches the Jets quarterbacks next year. How about that?
I'll take that. I'll take that gladly.
Yeah, how about that?
How about that? Now, last thing on the Jets. The defense, what I watched a little in the preseason, they kind of scare me. They still cannot rush the quarterback. They still don't have the ability. You know, Jenkins got a kind of cheap sack yesterday, but they still can't rush the quarterback. I don't care how good the secondary is. The Jets always had one good pass rusher, whether it was Sean Ellis, Johnny Abraham. They always had one that could rush the passer. Right now, it seems like they have zero. Can the Jets be dominant as a defense if they can't rush the passer?
I mean, to me, a defense, you got to stop the run before you got to rush the passer. Stopping the run leaves all other phases where you can improve on rushing the passer. If you can stop the run, you can send blitzes from here, from there. We got two quarterbacks, Claiborne. Who's the other quarterback on the other side?
It's Claiborne and Williams.
Yeah, we got two above-average quarterbacks that can probably lock down for most with one single safety. You can bring a lot of blitzes with that. Would I like to have more pressure? Absolutely. It'd be nice. It would be nice for one, just to know that this guy's going down at least 1 out of 10 plays. But we don't have that. So, it is the last 10 years, it's a new game. The quarterbacks are spreading out 5 wide. The running backs don't just run anymore. They come out of the backfield. And to me, that makes pass rushing a little less important, for lack of a better word, than it does stopping the run and coverage. Because if you're rushing the passer, you spread out 5 wide, you beat the blitz every time.
That's true.
That's just where I'm coming from. Just off of, like I said, basic knowledge of defenses, what I see from last year to preseason. And as long as you have, and there's a guy named Darrelle Revis who I had as a lockdown corner, and I'll tell you what, when he was in his prime, it didn't matter whether we could rush the quarterback or not, because they weren't scoring.
So two things before we move on, general, about football. One, how do you feel about the new helmet rule? I have not seen it enforced on an offensive player yet, and that kind of pisses me off. But how do you feel about the new helmet rule?
I mean, there's a lot of gray area. Do you really want me to be honest how I feel about it? Do you want me to tell you how I really think about it?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that it was implemented, that they're saying all this safety crap and garbage, like they want to make the league safer. That might be true, but there is so much gray area. You don't think that they have some kind of deal going with Vegas?
Probably.
You know how much easier it is to fix these games now? Oh, we lowered his helmet. Okay, they lower their helmet every time.
I've not seen a
That's
running
how
back
I feel
flag
about
for it
it.
yet, and running backs lower their helmet almost every time they run the ball.
Yeah, and what are you going to teach a kid in Pop Warner, a running back, not to lower his helmet?
No,
you
because
have
that's
to be kidding me.
not even that. That's how you get hurt. Running tall is how you get hurt. And when you
Yes.
bend over, the first thing that you lead with is your helmet, naturally, because your head's on top of your shoulders.
If you don't lead with your helmet, you open the rest of your body up for injury.
You're going to break your ribs. So, I agree with you. I think it's a stupid thing. And honestly, though, if I don't see it start getting called on the offense, then it was a waste of a time. It was just another thing to score more points, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean, they're changing the whole game. It's bad enough the defense can't play defense.
Yeah,
And now they're doing this bullshit. You can't touch the quarterback, depending on who it is. God forbid if you touch Tom Brady with your pinky,
you can't breathe on him at all.
Yeah, I mean, but then you tackle. They threw Rodgers. They broke his collarbone. There was no flag. I mean, you could go down the list of who they can hit and who they can't hit.
Oh yeah, because you also have guys like Ben Roethlisberger, who I'm not a fan of, but they can hang on this guy's throat.
Oh my God!
And beat the hell out of him, and there was never a call because it's quote unquote there's a chance at him breaking away and running. So that's what they hide under.
Yeah, it's the entire NFL system now. I mean, I love to get the NFL. There's nothing better than a football Sunday, but there is just so much gray area in every aspect of the NFL anymore. Whether it's penalties, whether it's kick returns, anything that you can think of, there's a gray area. Whether it's, are they going to suspend this guy because he got arrested on a speeding ticket? You don't even know. They suspend people for drinking and driving, but then don't suspend people for beating their wife. Like, give me a break.
I talked about this last week, Skip, on my live podcast, or 2 weeks ago. If you can play, then it doesn't matter. Bottom line. And this also branches into another question I'm going to ask you. You don't have to answer this one because this one might get a little dicey. Colin Kaepernick was in the news again. It came out that John Elway said that they were attempting to trade for him when he was still on San Francisco, and that Colin Kaepernick refused the trade because he didn't want to take a pay cut because Elway wanted to give him a pay cut. Now, obviously, he's been the site of a lot of controversy. He's praised for what he did with the kneeling. A lot of people rip the fact that he's not in the league now. What are your feelings first on what Elway had to say? And if you also want to talk about Kaepernick as well and not being in the league or not playing or whatever it is, go ahead.
Okay. Look, do I think that Colin Kaepernick is being blackballed by the league? Absolutely. I think that he can and should be starting in this league. Do I think that the owners of a business have a right to do that? Yes, I do. Because that is a part of owning a business. That is your right. If you don't want a player, you don't have to have him. Whether they're sending emails back and forth, texting, I don't know. I don't care. I have no really comment on all of that stuff, but do I think he should be playing? Yes. Should he be starting? Probably. Has he not received any offers? I highly doubt that. He has at least received offers, and, I mean, just take a look back at his contract. When he had 1 year left on his contract, and he opted out. So he could have still either gotten paid for that next year or played the next year in his contract. And if they cut him, they would have had to pay him. If I believe, am I right or am I wrong about that?
I believe so, yeah. A certain period of time where they would have been, at least for his guaranteed money, they would have had to pay it.
Yeah, and so while I do believe there's a little something going on, well, you and I know anyway. So do I think he should be playing? Yes. Should he start? Probably. But he should at least have a job. And I do believe if he's gotten tryouts and workouts, he's definitely gotten offers. So I do believe there's a little something that's not being said there.
There might be. And I just want to point out, and maybe I might lose listeners because it's not popular, but I want to point out Colin Kaepernick is not in this league because he kneeled. That is the biggest misinterpretation and misinformation. The kneeling, I really don't think had anything to do with it. Why he's not in this league is because in a press conference, he wore a shirt praising Hugo Chavez and also praised Hugo Chavez in that press conference. Hugo Chavez is a murderous dictator who tortures his own people and kills people that speak up against him. That, and also wearing the socks that had pigs on them with police caps on and depicting the people that stand guard at the tunnel and protect him and make sure that he doesn't get hurt in and out of every single game or at press conferences. And so guys that stand up for freedom of speech, cops like that do the things like that stand guard when people are hating on them. That is why he's not in this league, because he did stupid things like that. Now, granted, I think Colin Kaepernick was maybe 25, 26 at the time that he did it. It's a dumb thing. I don't think he should be destroyed for it. But as an owner, the guy hasn't played for a few years now. You don't know how good he is. He's probably a backup at this point because he's rusty. Is any backup worth the baggage that he's going to bring? The answer is no. And at the time, even if he was starter quality, is he worth all that baggage? And he wasn't worth it in San Francisco, which is one of the most liberal, free-voiced places on the planet. And they couldn't deal with it. So I just want to be clear. That's my opinion. That's why he's not in the league. Not because he kneeled, but because of the stupid things that he said and some of his stupid actions. That is why I think he's not in the league. Because he's not worth that publicity that he's going to bring negatively to a franchise. So I don't know if you have any comments on that. And if not, we can always move on.
I am good with that, other than what I said in the beginning. I am all for the freedom of speech. Please say what you want, do what you believe in. But at the same time, you have to realize that the owners have the freedom to choose who they want on their team. And if they don't want someone that does that, then that's their choice as well. So it does go both ways, although some people do not realize that.
No,
and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I agree everyone has freedom of speech, but Skip, you work at a place, there's rules. If you decide to protest those rules, what do? They fire you. That's it.
I get fired, and if I get someone that comes into my job and does not follow the rules of the park, I kick them out.
Exactly. So,
and I'm justifiable to do that.
You have the freedom to do it, but with every action, there's an equal in either positive or negative reaction. And that's just the bottom line. So, we're going to move on to probably a little more something happy, cheery right now, because I was going to come on here and completely and totally destroy the Mets and destroy Skip for being a Mets fan.
Ugh.
But the Mets have actually scored a ridiculous amount of runs. Granted, they lost the second half of a doubleheader against the Phillies, but that's difficult to win both doubleheaders anyway, to sweep a doubleheader. It's not easy.
As a big baseball guy, you always go in, whether you're the best team, worst team, always go in looking to split the doubleheader. And
they did in emphatic fashion, because the game before, what did they beat the Orioles, like 16-2? And then they come back and beat the Phillies 24-4. Or 3. It was ridiculous.
Let me stop you real quick for 2 seconds, all right? I'm going to go in here and say this real quick, because we're in New Jersey here. You might be in New York, but I'm in New Jersey, and it's legal to bet on sports. So 3 days ago, I bet on the over in the Mets game. Lost. I didn't bet the over the last 2 games. I suck. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, continue.
Your picks always suck. I don't know why I had you on. But no. But that's the thing, and the Mets are such a weird team this year. Because, number one, they're old and injury-prone, and we saw that. They had a hot start. When their bats were there, they had one of the best starts in league history, definitely franchise history. And then the injuries happened. And they put out a high school team to play baseball.
I mean, Alex, listen, can you imagine if they didn't start 11-0, how bad the record would be?
Can you imagine a team where Jose Bautista is one of your best hitters in 2018?
I love Joey Bats, man. I love the way he plays. He still got some fire. He still got some power. But yeah, he is hitting under 200. We can't leave that out. But yeah, yes. I mean, you want to get going on the Mets? I'll start off if you don't mind.
Well, I want to ask you one thing, because I know your feelings on the Mets have been obvious. You're a diehard fan, so you're never going to turn on them. But the negativity's always been there with you. But I need to ask you this, because this just as a sports person drives me nuts because this happened to great players like Barry Sanders, where idiotic franchises refuse to trade people at their prime in order to get back as much as they can for them because they were going nowhere. How the hell do the Mets not trade DeGrom or Syndergaard, especially DeGrom, and replenish their awful, terrible farm? How? How do you not do that if you're a actual general manager? How?
Okay. All right. So, firstly, I'm never too negative. What I'm known for and what I'm good at is I'll keep it real with you. So, again, I'm going to keep it real with you right here. I completely agree with their move not to trade either one. Okay?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Jacob, okay, let me talk. This is my turn. Jacob DeGrom is 30 years old. Maybe 31, I might have missed a year.
Mm-hmm.
He was an old rookie. He did not come into the league until he was 26 or 27. So he's only got about 4 years on him. No history of injury. He still has 2 years left on his rookie contract.
And it's all downhill from here. And it's all downhill.
He is not making money, ace money, anything. Noah Syndergaard. He is still 25, 26 tops. He is so young and so good that you could trade him or you could not trade him, and it doesn't matter. Here's my argument why you keep him. He still also has at least 2 years, and again, I don't know the exact numbers, so forgive me, guys, if I'm wrong, at least 2 years left on his deal. He is still also not making ace money. Now, you could argue that maybe they should have traded him for someone like Bryce Harper, and I cannot argue that. But if you are not going to get back at least one proven bat, not some random 19-year-old that might have had a good season in the minors, I want a proven guy for these two guys because they're not rentals. If they were a rental, if Syndergaard's contract was up or DeGrom's contract, absolutely, you take your shot with 3 prospects. But let's go over the core bats that the Mets are missing or have been missing all year. Yoenis Cespedes, when healthy, Jesus Christ, God forbid he ever gets healthy again. But when healthy, the dude's good for 30 or 35 home runs, 100 RBIs, and hits 275 to 280. Okay, he's a right-handed power bat. Jay Bruce has not been healthy all year. Now, God knows what you're going to get from him year to year, but the only thing that is consistent is he does hit 35 home runs. So he goes right behind Cespedes to mix up the right-left order. You brought in Todd Frazier, who's been in and out of the lineup. Again, a low-average hitter, but a lot of power. So that right there gives you 3, 4, 5, right, left, right, in the middle of your order. Under contract for 2 more years. You have a third pitcher, arguably the best pitcher on your staff right now. You can't argue DeGrom. I apologize about that. Jacob, I'm sorry. Zach Wheeler, who's finally coming into his own. He is right now better than Noah Syndergaard. Right now, I'm talking in this podcast, and Syndergaard's getting lit up by the Phillies again. So,
hey, Phillies are a good team, though. They are.
Yes, they are. But Zach Wheeler, again, under contract for a couple more years. Still young, finally seems to be turning the corner, going deeper in games, and his stuff has always been filthy. Steven Matz, before he got hurt, had a below 4 ERA and more than a strikeout per inning.
But he's been god-awful since he's come back from his injury.
He hasn't come back yet. Did he come back yesterday?
He came back yesterday. He was ugly. Hasn't pitched ever in his life bad.
Okay, so that's one start. Before that, he had a decent season going. And now we're getting into the 4th and 5th starters. This is also 2018, where these guys only have to go 5 innings or 100 pitches. God forbid if they throw 101 pitch, their arm falls off a pound.
Which, hold on, I got to stop you. I got to give Dave Ireland some credit. He said he wants his guys to start going 115. That's
good. Well, 115, how about let them go until they can't get anyone out? Then I'll be happy. But that's besides the point. I like David Ireland, what he's doing. But let's continue with the offense here.
What offense? Let's talk about this offense that doesn't exist. Let's hypothetically speak about guys that don't play or don't produce. Let's do this.
Okay, so we'll continue with that. I'm running out of guys, actually. No,
exactly.
My point is, you still have a core of good guys, and the pitching staff is still young enough. And you have Ahmed Rosario, leadoff hitter. He hasn't done much, but he's getting useful playing time over there at short.
Okay, but your leadoff hitter, he should not be your leadoff hitter. Nimmo should be your leadoff hitter, not Ahmed Rosario.
Thank you for bringing Nimmo up. Nimmo up, too, another good player. Nimmo will, in time, be the leadoff hitter. Rosario should be the two-hitter.
Yeah, but
100%.
Rosario's not a good player yet. You say another good player. Rosario's not even a serviceable player. On any other team, he's still in the minors. Besides probably the Marlins.
And I just said that they gave him a shot, and then when the season fell apart, they're letting him get his at-bat. Okay, they had Asdrubal Cabrera, who could play shortstop if need be. If Rosario was struggling, they were in the race. And 100% that would have happened. They would have traded for another second base.
Yeah, but you guys still play Jose Reyes.
Listen, Alex, I would like to thank you for giving me the top 5 in the order for next year, the next 3 years, when Syndergaard, DeGrom, Wheeler, and Matz are still 1, 2, 3, 4 in your rotation. You have Brandon Nimmo, Ahmed Rosario coming into his own. Trust me, he will. Yoenis Cespedes, Jay Bruce, and then Todd Frazier.
So I'm going to bring you back to reality real quick because...
Hey, you wanted my opinion? This is what it is.
And I'm getting it from you, and I'm going to give you mine, and also I'll talk reality. Because Mets fans, the one thing I love about Mets fans, you guys are always optimistic. Every year, you look at your lineup, and as bad as it is, you're like, we could be good. We could be good.
Time out. When they were 11-0, I was the first person to tell everyone to wait a minute. So I'm not always optimistic.
But I'm just saying, a lot of times, but even at the beginning of the year where they say, like, every team is even because it's the beginning of the year, Mets fans really believe that. And it's funny. Sorry, so you bring up Brandon Nimmo. I like Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo, I think, is a good player. Is he ever going to be great? No, but he's a starter for his career. He's a career starter. I'll give him that. Ahmed Rosario has showed me nothing. He still can develop, but he's shown me shown flashes, but he showed me...
Flashes are good and flashes are terrible.
He's a guy that, when his contract's up, if he doesn't want to resign, he's not someone worth fighting for. That's my opinion on him.
I can agree with that.
Okay, so now we're going to get to your nitty-gritty. Yoenis Cespedes doesn't want to play for the New York Mets. If he did, he would work harder to get back. And I'm not saying he fakes any injuries, but I also don't think that he cares when he gets injured. He's not too worried about it.
I'm not sure he wants to play for any team. He didn't want to play for Oakland. He didn't want to play for Boston.
No, and I agree with that. He just wants to get paid. But you can't count on... You can't count on Yoenis Cespedes. He's not a guy you can count on. You can take him out of your lineup and plug in someone from AAA. Jay Bruce, another year older, has had an awful season this year for a guy who's been a pretty good hitter throughout his career. How much more does Jay Bruce have left in the tank? If you're counting on him as your cleanup guy, that's trouble. And Todd Frazier is probably going to retire. Or you're not going to sign him again. So, I think he has 2 years, but he's a guy you might look to, kind of let go or maybe even trade for nothing. Because what does he bring? What does he bring besides clubhouse presence right now? I love Todd Frazier. He's a Tom Server guy. I loved him on the Yankees, but he was great on the Yankees because he didn't have to do much. He was there for emotion.
I mean, clubhouse presence is a big thing nowadays. But let's
team.
Work back to the game. Let's work back to the game. This is the team, essentially, minus a couple of guys, that was in the World Series with a over 90% chance to win every game and somehow lost because only the Mets. To the Royals, and they lost 4-1. So they did make it to the World Series. So let's not say they can't do it. And this was 3 years ago.
They did.
So if you really want to, I could argue that their team today, okay, this is going to sound terrible, is better than the team that got to the World Series at the beginning of the year this year.
That just tells you the rest of the league might have been really bad then.
I could argue that on paper, before the year started, their team looks better than the team that was in the World Series. On paper, before the year started.
Now, let's also look at this. I'm going to take, because I'm a Yankees fan, that's what I know. If the Mets would have taken any of the trades proposals that were out there for a Jacob deGrom from the Yankees, the Mets would have been a lot better for the next 5 to 10 years, potentially. The Yankees would have obviously...
The proposal they had, but the Yankees didn't want to do it with any of the young guys either. So
well,
it's not like...
I'm telling you right now, for DeGrom, they would have given up an Andujar, Clint Frazier, and probably a Justice Sheffield. I don't think that was ever not on the table. But the issue is, the Mets wanted Gleyber Torres and Miguel Andujar. They made it so impossible that they knew it wasn't going to happen, which is ridiculous.
Jacob deGrom's ERA is 1.7. You want to win, you pay. Yes,
and you're 70 games under 500. What does it matter when you can't? And the guy is 6-8. He's 6-8.
His ERA is 1.7.
For what is it doing? The best pitcher in the league, potentially, doesn't win games because he's on such a terrible team.
He's going to win the Cy Young with having less than 10 wins.
And he's going to do it again next year because you have nothing to build around. You have a terrible farm. You're unwilling to trade your young talent to replenish or get any talent. You won't pay money for superstars. Superstars won't go to you because you won't pay. What do the Mets' future have? They have no future.
Because when the Mets pay, they turn it to Yoenis Cespedes. They paid him. He doesn't play. I wouldn't pay either.
Yeah, but you wouldn't pay, but you have no one to bring up. What do you have, Dom Smith? Who the heck? He's terrible.
Hopefully he's gone because his little thing here, I mean, that brought back in Jose Bautista, that guy.
And that's my issue with the Mets. Mets fans, I get it. You get attached to your guys, as does any fans. But also, you have to look at the big picture. DeGrom is 30. Yes, he was a young rookie, but even before that, the difference between baseball and every other sport is these guys are throwing real games before this. He has mileage on that arm. I don't care what age he came in as a rookie. He's 30. He's only going to start going down from here. This is the R.A. Dickey year for him. This is the best year of his career. He's going to start to decline. I don't care what anyone says. Verlander's on PEDs. Only reason that dude hasn't declined. But DeGrom's going to decline. Yeah, you might have him locked up for a few more years, but this is the highest his value is ever going to be. The fact that you didn't get a haul for him this year, you might get a nice players for the future, but you're not going to get guys that could change your team again. This is the time.
You know what? I can agree with you there. You know, this argument, I'm glad they didn't, you're right, as a Mets fan, I am glad they didn't trade everyone and then they broke the record for losses in a year. I can see both sides to the story. And, you know, I'm indifferent. I'm glad they didn't trade him. But I can, if they were getting a haul, you don't have to, but you could have. But let's not forget, they can also do these deals in the offseason. It's not like they had to do it before the deadline or anything like that. If they decide, they reevaluate, okay, Nimmo sucks, Rosario might not be so good. Maybe we really should take a full step back and rebuild. They could shift these guys. Or what do you think the Yankees are going to not want?
No, they won't. They won't be as desperate. This thing about the deadline. No, the thing about the deadline is desperation.
They'll give Andujar and Frazier and Sheffield.
No, I think you're stuck with Frazier, Wade, and maybe friggin' I don't even know. Frazier, Wade, and another guy. You're not going to get Andujar now because we don't need to trade away Andujar. Why not? He's the best hitter on your team today.
The guy started off so hot that by default he's still hitting 280. He was hitting 330 for like 3 months. He's
the rookie of the year, bar none.
So that tells me right there that the league has figured him out, and that it's only a matter of time before he's an average player.
Yeah, because the league figured out Judge last year, right?
Time and time again. Yeah, you're right. They did figure it out. They hit him on the wrist, and he's out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And he was right in line to be the friggin' slugger of the year because he was having a better statistical year in everything besides home runs.
Look, what they did with Judge was, we'll do this for a second. They decided to pitch to Judge instead of Stanton, and he hurt him more than Stanton did. That's what they did with Judge.
And now
Judge
Stanton is stepping up.
Judge is not a player. Judge is a beast, okay? You cannot compare him to like Andujar or like anybody ever. Like, this guy is like 6'8". Like, the pitches they call strikes on him, he just looks back and goes, okay. And like, there's strikes on anyone else, but they're at like this guy's ankles. He flicks his wrist and it goes in the upper deck. I'm not comparing Judge to anyone, okay? That's that. I'll tell you that much. So don't even bring Aaron. He can judge me all he wants because I ain't judging him. That's all I got to say about Aaron Judge.
So I got to ask you, what is your optimism going forward? Because the Mets are just doing the same old thing, and they're doing the exact definition of insanity, changing nothing about the way they approach the game and expecting better results. What's your optimism for the future of this franchise?
Well, of course, you know me. I haven't seen a championship in my life.
No, you saw a swept Subway Series.
I was a huge Mets fan, and back in the day, I don't really watch basketball too much since the Nets moved to Brooklyn, but I was a huge Nets fan. I have not seen a championship ever. So my optimism is zero, to say the least. But, I mean, you see some consistency here. You see, in my eyes, why is the training staff still there? Like, is this the same training staff year in and year out? Why are they not gone? You don't see any other team have this many injuries every year, the same guys. Time after time. Something's got to be going on with the training staff. That would be my first move. Get him out of there. I mean, what? You got Mickey Callaway. Okay, they're 11-0 and he's hugging everyone. Okay, but then when they go like 12 and 40, he's still hugging his players. How? Again, and I hate to sound like the guy that just bashes the coaching, but bro, they're doing whatever the hell they want on you because you love them no matter what. You can hug them, but you have to discipline them. It's like a child. He is doing nothing in that clubhouse, and you can tell they don't want to play. You want to know why? Because there's no discipline. You see guys on that team don't run anything out because they won't get benched. And Mickey Callaway, if I were the owner, the GM, he would be gone. He'd be gone mid-season. I've seen enough from him. It's all hugging. It's all backing up your players. How about you throw a fire under their ass? And rip them apart a little bit. I like Gary Collins. He was a player's manager, but he wasn't scared to throw someone under the bus when they embarrassed him. And right now, Callaway's players are embarrassing him because they're that bad, and he's still sticking up for them. And that I have a problem with.
All right, so I agree. Part of me feels bad for Callaway because he came in wanting to do all the right things, and then he just petered out because his philosophy's stupid and it doesn't work at all. It just doesn't work. Aaron Boone came in saying the right things, similar to Callaway, but you could see Aaron Boone does get into his guys because you hear the way he talks, and Callaway's always, it's okay. Aaron Boone's pissed off sometimes after press conferences. You don't see that from Callaway. That's the difference between those two.
And you know what? Let me bring up something real quick. Gary Sanchez recently went on the DL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Magically, it happened the day after he didn't run out a ball that got by him at a double play ball in the ninth. You really think he got hurt? No, I think he got suspended. All right, let's be real here. I think he got disciplined by the team, and I love it.
Yeah, I think there's part of both. I never doubt a guy's injuries because I've had surgeries before. You've been hurt before, so I'm not going to doubt a guy's injury. But I will say that they might have looked at him and said, I think it might be a good time if you sit on the DL for a little.
Yeah, I mean, they might have been hiding something a little bit. He might have been a little banged up, but you know what, Gary, what the hell was that last night,
I don't know. It brings me flashbacks of Robbie Cano. But we're going to get off the negative talk because there is a reason for optimism on our next subject. Mr. Tiger Woods. And now I end off the podcast. I started doing it with the feel-good story, Skip. I think this is both of our feel-good story right here. Tiger Woods and his redemption. He's finished runner-up the last two majors to the same guy, Brooks Koepka, who has just friggin' ice in his veins watching Tiger climb up the board for two majors in a row and staring him down and going, I don't care. I'm still going to win. So good on Brooks Koepka.
Tiger, give me a second here for Brooks. Before we get going on Tiger's bandwagon, because you know that there's no one I love more since Manny Ramirez is retired than Tiger Woods. That guy's my favorite golfer, and for all you listeners that don't know, I am probably the only person that watched every single shot of the British Open in all hours and still made it to work on time. So I watched every single shot. I watched every single shot for the PGA Championship, all that good stuff. I watch everything. I played golf yesterday. I am a huge golf fan. And
how'd you do? Did you suck?
I was okay, and then, I shot an 88, so it was decent.
Well, it's not bad. 88's decent.
Course.
Where'd you play?
It wasn't bad, but
what course did you play?
T Oaks.
Where?
T Oaks, down out in the Harbor. I played with Penn.
I know T Oaks. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, Brooks Koepka right now is the closest I've ever seen to Tiger in his prime. And I'm going to go out and say that on a limb, because when he has the lead, you have no chance of catching him.
Now, I want to bring this up.
He had the lead twice. On Sunday with the U.S. Open and now with the PGA Championship. With the PGA Championship, you have the best player of all time. Sorry, Jack Nicklaus. Tiger was just the best player of all time. Marching up the leaderboard right at you, and Koepka just keeps putting iron to within 8 feet after iron within 8 feet, making no mistakes, just shutting the door. This is as close to Tiger in his prime as I've ever seen. And Brooks Koepka deserves a ton of credit. You've seen this year, you've seen Dustin Johnson blow a huge lead. You've seen Jordan Spieth miss cuts at majors. You've seen Rory McIlroy miss 4-foot putts when it mattered. You've seen any of these other big names falter time and time again, but not Brooks Koepka. That man is for real, and he deserves a ton of credit. he is the next big thing. I'm telling you, Tiger's got a few years in him, but after that, it might be the Brooks Koepka show because he dominates when he's on, and he's got the killer instinct that I've never seen from Tiger, and that you can't teach that killer instinct, especially on a golf course.
Now,
where one mistake can kill you.
I'm very hesitant to crown anyone the next best thing because I'm happy you brought up some names. Rory McIlroy went on a tear. He was the next best thing. He had that fire. He had that consistency. And now he's just a pretty average golfer. If he gets up near the top, he's a threat. Jordan Spieth, another one. That fire, that balls. He did it. He was the next Tiger. And now he's just another good player. Justin Rose, Jason Day, and now Brooks Koepka. Here's the difference between all of those guys. You could be a really good guy and have a nice run. Cale Schwartzel had a nice run where he was a very good top-flight major player. It's easy to get up for the majors. It's very easy to get up and get amped for the majors because you want to show out. It's not easy to go and stay up all season and dominate a whole season and just win a bunch of tournaments. The difference between all these guys and Tiger is Tiger didn't just get up for the majors. Tiger got up for the nobody gives a shit, not even on TV major in Fargo, North Dakota, and still went out and played like it was a major. None of these guys do that. They use those as warm-ups to majors. And Tiger in his prime didn't see that. Tiger in his prime saw competition, win, doesn't matter. Set records, kill. That's all he saw. And that is my difference between everyone else and Tiger Woods. Tiger didn't care if it was a major or not. He was going to win and he was going to destroy everybody. Period. And that's my difference. I don't see the consistency from anyone else, including Brooks Koepka, who disappears unless it's a major.
Okay, I can hear that, but I can also tell you that I recently looked up Tiger Woods' best year, and that was 2000. He only played in 20 tournaments, which means he sat out more than half of them. Okay, I'm not bashing Tiger. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He's the best golfer ever. But you can't really compare that to these guys who play probably 30 to 40 tournaments a year.
How many of those did he win?
In those 20 tournaments, he won only 9. Now,
so he almost won half. That's a lot in golf.
Half. You're right. But people that try to argue, well, he's no. I heard someone say Tiger Woods is not back because he finished second.
No, he's not back.
Have you turned on the TV? Did you see Tiger Woods' round on Sunday? Because if you didn't, you need to not talk about whether he's back or not. That man is back. And, will he ever win a major again? I don't think it's will he. I think it's when. And you know what? I think it's the Masters 2019. I think he could definitely win another major. Is Tiger back?
I say no, not completely. Because the old Tiger didn't hit par in a Masters or in a major. He hit under par every single time. When I see Tiger Woods hit in the 60s for 4 straight days, then I'm going to say he's back, regardless of where he finishes. Because old Tiger never hit par. He hit under 60, and you had to hit under 60 every day as well to beat him. So that's when I will say that, don't get me wrong, we're seeing vintage Tiger hits. We're seeing vintage Tiger confidence, because he hit off the driver absolutely terribly on Sunday for the first 10 holes. He was awful out of the tee box. But his approach shots...
He had 17, he hit that drive, he cost him the tournament.
Oh, yeah. But he hit
a bad drive on 17, cost him the tournament.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. That killed him. But even then, before that, the first 10, his approach shots and his mid-game and his putting were unbelievable. And that saved him.
Unbelievable.
We didn't see that Tiger confidence up until this past season, where he knew that he could screw up one part of his game, or he could screw up his driving, but his mid-game and his putting, which are usually the last thing to come back, have been the best part of his game this year. So
yeah, I agree with that. I think, and we're going into right now after this week the FedEx Cup playoffs, which to most average golfer fan means nothing. But I'll tell you what, it's going to mean an awful lot to Tiger Woods this year in his first year back.
He's going to make the Ryder Cup not because of charity, because he's one of the top American players in the world right now.
I mean, he's already back up to number 20 in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read.
Yep.
You'd have a hard time telling me that Tiger's not the best player in the world right now. You would have a hard time telling me.
I still think it's Dustin Johnson for now. Not Brooks Koepka. He's playing the best in 2 majors, but I still think Dustin, until Tiger completely comes back and wins some tournaments, you can't say Dustin Johnson still hasn't been the most consistent player this season.
I mean, Dustin Johnson, he's first in FedEx Cup points. If he wins the FedEx Cup tournament, then he's, I would say, undoubtedly the best player in the world. But until this man, talking about Dustin Johnson, if there's anyone I can compare to talent-wise to Tiger Woods, it's Dustin Johnson. That guy's got it all. He's that damn good, but he is that I don't care at the same time. He doesn't care if you win. The guy shows no emotion, which is fine if you win, but the guy literally,
he's got the Jay Cutler effect. He's the Jay Cutler right there. He just shows no emotion, win or loss.
He has the most talent on the tour. He drives the ball 360. He's got stud irons. His putting is a little weak, but it doesn't even matter that his putting is weak. He still wins tournaments.
And how about the fall of...
comes, he doesn't care.
How about the fall of Adam Scott? Since when do you see Adam Scott falter when he's in a chance for a playoff at a friggin' major? I have never seen that before this Sunday.
It's been about 10 years, or 8, 9 years since Scott had that opportunity.
And when he's there, he's good.
He hasn't had the best year. He hasn't been playing
No, he has not.
well. He was playing for, I don't remember his name, and I apologize to everyone that this might hurt, but he was playing for that Australian guy, or the South African guy, I apologize, that passed away last week. Jared Lyle's his name.
Yep,
So he was friends with him. He passed away like the day before, so he had a little something extra going on inside of him. That was the best he's played all year, and then that kind of just ran out and fizzled out. And like I said, man, watching Koepka, when he's got the lead, he's just dialed in. And that's something you can't say. And, you know what, you say whatever you want about Rory having a little fat and McIlroy, and I just said Rory and McIlroy and Dustin
Spieth and all them, yeah.
And all these guys. You say what you want. Koepka's won back-to-back U.S. Opens, the hardest tournament in golf, and now a PGA. He is one of 5 players to win the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship ever. Right now, Brooks Koepka is the best golfer in the world.
I'm not saying the potential.
You heard that.
I'm not saying the potential isn't there for Brooks Koepka to be, bar none, the best in the world and possibly one of the best of all time. I just need to see the type of consistency that we saw from Tiger, from Nicklaus, from Palmer, even from Mickelson. When Mickelson was in, Mickelson was just a guy that was in Tiger's way. But without Tiger, Mickelson's one of the best of a generation. He wins a lot more Masters, and he wins a lot more tournaments and majors, if Tiger doesn't exist. So...
yeah, you can't argue that one.
So Brooks Koepka needs to show me more. Has he been great over the past 2 years? No doubt. And in majors, I need to see more in tournaments.
Professionally 4 years ago, so let's keep that perspective.
There's that perspective is there.
He's 28 years old. He's older for a younger golfer. He's old.
Yes.
He's 28, yes.
Without a doubt, but I just need to see the consistency before we crown him anything near Tiger. If he gets to 5 majors and a bunch of tournament wins somewhere, okay then, we'll talk.
Hey, let's not put words in my mouth. I never crowned him somewhere near Tiger.
You said closest to Tiger.
I said he reminds me, he's the closest thing I've seen to Tiger in his prime, and right now he's the best golfer in the world. He's the closest when he's in the lead, maybe not Thursday, Friday, maybe not even Saturday, but when he has the lead on Sunday, you can't catch him. And that was Tiger, his best round ever on a Sunday in a major, knocking at the door. Koepka bogeys 5 and 6, letting Tiger in, and then he just looks at the leaderboard and birdies 7, 8, and 9, and that's it. Game over. The game was over right there.
Listen, the guy warms up. The guy warms up benching 215, so that tells you all you need to know about him. He's a bro.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a bro.
His biceps are huge. My God.
So, that honestly, that is my feel-good story right now, and I don't know how many people are going to agree, but Tiger made mistakes. Let's be honest. Tiger made mistakes. He cheated on one of the hottest women on the planet at the time, which he was a model. And my dad...
he got a lot of side.
My dad always made a funny joke when Tiger was first trying to make his comeback after that whole entire scandal. He always made the joke that whenever he pulled out his 9-iron, he got flashbacks of Elon swinging it at him when she was trying to hit him after he got into that accident. And he always attributed Tiger playing bad to that.
That's what, listen, that's funny because I always, what he does in his first couple holes, I always know whether he got laid the night before. So.
So he's my
You
feel-good.
can tell he hasn't been getting laid on Wednesdays before Thursday round lately.
Seriously, but he's my feel-good story right now because you have to really put in perspective everything this guy's went through. He had a life-altering issue, which he brought upon himself, but we make mistakes. And to couple that, he then had a debilitating injury that could have very well taken him out of his professional career. Everybody thought he was done because he came back too soon, played terrible,
Even
got
he
hurt.
thought he was done.
He played terrible, got hurt, played terrible, got hurt. It was a vicious cycle. He came back last year, looked very average. Everybody thought he was done. And this year, he possibly put together one of his top 3 professional seasons. Yes, he didn't win any majors, but in terms of his play and just his consistency at certain points and the rounds he was able to put up, it was one of his best professional years. People could look it up. He played great.
He went from 1,149th in the world to 20th.
Exactly.
In 1 year.
Exactly. So
that's enough said. You can forget about his missed cut in the U.S. Open, or remember if you choose to and say his season sucked. You better watch out, golf. 2019, every single person on tour, because you heard it here first. Again, Tiger's winning at least 3 to 4 tournaments next year. I don't know which ones they are. I can guarantee you one of them's going to be a major. But he's winning 3, 4, maybe 5 tournaments next year.
Yeah, I think so.
You're going to see something we haven't seen in a decade, and you're going to see a lot. And you're going to see guys like Jordan Spieth and Rory, the guys that can't take the heat, fall back, and you're going to see some golfers that want to get better, either join the ride or cut the chase.
I'm telling you right now, if he does that next year, don't be surprised if Sergio Garcia and Phil Mickelson have some really good tournaments with him, because I feel like when he's good, those guys get so competitive that they're going to play well, because they're not going to want to watch Tiger win it all again.
Let's not forget, all 3 of these guys are over 40. They're not, again, they're smart men.
They're closer to the seniors.
They don't have a ton of time left. They're in the part of their career where most guys just kind of, oh, please let me be 50 so I can go play in the senior tour. No, these guys are still competing. They can still win tournaments, which is amazing.
So, but we can always...
Won this year. Sergio won this year. Sergio won a major last year.
So, but we can always count next year. We can count on Phil Mickelson being in position on Sunday to compete for the major, have a really hard shot where you could take the safe shot or the completely idiotic shot, and take that idiotic shot and ruin any shot at that major.
I agree with you completely. You're going to have 2 of the older guys competing, and you're probably going to have one of the younger guys that steps up that particular week competing as well. You're going to have a 3-man show. Without
a doubt. But, Skip, this was lots of fun. I had a blast doing this, my man. This was the Sports Opinions podcast with Alan Skip Robinson. Skip, where can the people find you again on social media?
Instagram, Twitter, AlanRob5, ALLENROB5. A lot of fun. Thanks to everyone that listened. Hope you had a good time. Hope you learned some things. And hopefully, Alex will be back on.
Absolutely. And again, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @A_Questa30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. Go visit the Facebook page. And you can access any past episodes on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spreaker, Google Play Music, or Apple Podcasts. Again, I want to thank everyone for listening. This was a Sports Opinions podcast. Have a good one.